There's been a tornado warning for the past 3 days, but I don't think what's outside is a tornado. I live in the Midwest. I won't say where, but I live in an area that's prone to weather warnings, specifically tornadoes. We mostly get them between April and June, but it's not too unusual to get them later in the year. What is unusual, however, is having them last for 3 days. It began 3 days ago. I had just gotten home from another boring day's work and had plopped myself down on the couch with a beer, microwave dinner, and my dog, Sam, a small rescue dog. Don't ask me her breed, as I don't know. I plan on getting a little drunk and falling asleep to some late night TV, my usual weekday routine. However, I was rudely interrupted by my TV and phone blasting a tornado warning. Looking outside, I could see it was a little stormy, but it definitely didn't look like tornado weather. Sighing, I pulled myself off the couch and took my dog and dinner down into the cellar below the house. I only realized that after I closed the door to my cellar that I had forgot my beer. My cellar is just as glamorous as my house. I'm sure you can imagine what that means. Walking down the steps, my hand made its way across the wall before finding the light switch. I knew that power wouldn't last for long, so I began to warm up the generator. After that, I double-checked I had some food and water before sitting down in my old chair. I stayed down there and switched on my radio. I figured I'd at least get half an hour of radio signal before it was distorted and eventually washed away by the storm. While I began finishing off my dinner, the radio crackled to life. Emergency weather alert broadcast for Sumner County, Kansas. Residents are advised to stay indoors or in a storm cellar and to shut all windows. All residents are advised to lock all doors, barricade cellar entrances, and not to answer any call for help or request for entry until an official signal. Stay safe. Good luck. Wait, what? I said, bolting upright and almost choking on my food. I quickly leaned forward and turned up the radio volume, hoping to catch the warning for a second time. Residents are advised to lock all doors, barricade cellar entrances, and not to answer any call for help or request for entry until an official signal. Stay safe. Good luck. The radio had finally cut out, just as rain began to pelt the roof of the rest of the upstairs. No matter, I had heard it again, for certain. Lock all doors, barricade cellar entrances, and not to answer any call for help or request for entry until an official signal. It played over and over again in my head. Don't get me wrong, this isn't my first rodeo when it comes to big storms or tornadoes. I spent countless hours holed up in here while rain, lightning, tornadoes, and hail wreak havoc above me, but never in my life have I been told to lock my doors or not to answer any call for help or request for entry. That's weird. Initially, I played it off as there possibly being looters who would enter the homes of hiding people and rob them. It's happened before, but never during a storm, and never to such an extent to where the county would warn us about them. Besides, looters don't try and alert homeowners to their presence by asking for entry. Anyway, I tried my best not to think about it and eventually drifted off to sleep much earlier than I would have, probably due to boredom. With nothing to do other than listen to the pelting rain above you, it's pretty hard to stay awake. I was awoken around 3 a.m. to Sam barking and growling at the cellar door. It was weird. She never barked in storms, only at people at the door or some other dogs. I walked up the stairs and rested my ears against the cellar door. All I could hear was the heavy rain and occasionally some thunder. It was weird. The tornado should have passed by now, but we still didn't get an official signal. It's not like I would have slept through it. I'm a light sleeper, and I made sure the radio volume was up real high. Just as I was about to go back to my chair, I hear it. the creak of my front door opening. Crap, I thought to myself. I forgot to lock it. Sam started barking louder, despite my attempts to shush her. The house was quiet for a moment. I used this time to stick a wooden board between the door handles, making the door almost impossible to open from the outside. But then, I hear it. Footsteps. They were light, but definitely there. I followed them with my ears as they made their way around my house. It was hard to pinpoint exactly where they were, but I definitely heard them. My eyes rushed around the room as my panic rose. It felt like there was a pit in my stomach. I was nauseated with fear. I had left my rifle upstairs, and down here, the best excuse for a weapon was a long steak knife I had brought down before. I switched off the cellar light, which I had stupidly left on, and stuck my eye in between the two cellar doors that opened out into my house. Sam had quieted down, but was still growling. My eyes glanced around the limited field of view that it had. I could see my couch, stairs, and closed door to my bedroom, so not too much. It was then I noticed that the footsteps had stopped. Is this what the radio had warned about? I thought over all the scenarios in my head. A looter, someone seeking shelter, wild animal maybe? None of it made sense. Then, there was the knock. I wasn't sure if I had heard it properly at first, but it quickly progressed from a quiet tapping into a banging crescendo. It sounded like thousands of fists had descended onto my cellar door, thrashing and pounding against it. Whatever was banging, I knew I couldn't let it in. This must have been what the radio had warned about. This must have been it. Instinctively, I jumped back and nearly fell backwards down the stairs leading into my cellar. Surprisingly, I composed myself and yelled at whatever was out there. "Hey, get out of my house! I'm armed!" I shouted. I don't think I was too convincing, probably thanks to the slight tremble in my voice. The banging on my door stopped. Did I scare it away? I thought to myself. It was quiet for a few minutes, but the uneasy silence was shattered when it spoke.
"Hey man, you need to let me in. It's really dangerous out here. I don't know how long I can last."
Possible. It was the voice of my brother. I hadn't seen him in years, not since he moved to the West Coast. There is no possible way he was in the state. Hell, he didn't even know where I lived. Every ounce of my being knew that whatever spoke was definitely not my brother, but something else. And yet, I still replied, "Mark?"
"Yeah, it's been a while. Let me in, man."
"I need to see you."
At the end of its sentence, its voice trailed off. It was deeper, raspy, not the voice of my brother at all. I knew I couldn't respond. It spoke again.
"Look, Alec, for the love of God, it's dangerous out here."
"The storm is growing stronger."
I didn't give it the satisfaction of a reply, which only seemed to make it more angry.
"Let me in. Let me in. Let me in."
It screamed out of frustration. Its scream was sickening, a high-pitched wail that filled the air and made me want to throw up. After that, it started banging on the door again. I waited until it stopped. It was quiet for a couple of hours after that. The storm continued, seemingly without a tornado. However, I was startled to hear my radio crackle to life. "Emergency weather alert canceled. Residents are advised to leave their cellars to secure properties." That is all. I let out a sigh of relief. However, my relief was short-lived. The broadcast seemed off. Usually at the end of a storm, there would be a damage report and locations where you could go to receive aid. and even maybe a bed for the night. Plus, I could hear the rain and thunder above me. There was no way a signal could get through. It must have somehow hijacked my radio signal. Every few minutes, the same line would be repeated with perfect sound quality. It was enough to make me want to unplug the thing altogether. If I wasn't afraid of missing the actual end signal, I might have. 3 days have passed without the storm, and my radio subsiding. That thing, whatever it is still out there, occasionally banging on my door to remind me. I'm at my wit's end. If it wasn't for Sam, I think I would have gone insane by now. That's all for the moment. I'll update you if I can. Until then, wish me luck.